we just have some world news. I don't know whether did you see about the election of Javier Milei in Argentina? Have you come across this?
I did, yes. Yeah, he looks very cheerful.
He looks like
Austin Powers, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So slightly aged Austin Powers.
Yeah, he does. And I mean, in many ways, like you can't really sort of put it across on a podcast, but there are some fantastic videos of him. There's one, so he's a libertarian. He's an extreme libertarian. He describes himself as an anarcho-capitalist. And have you seen this video of him? Like, he's going through the names of the ministries in the government, which are written down on a whiteboard on little sticky notes, and he's ripping them off and throwing them away and saying "fuero, afuera," which means out. Just playing.
Equipo y deporte, afuera.
Afuera.
Ministerio de Cultura, afuera.
Ministry of Culture, out.
Ministerio de Ambiente y Desarrollo Sostenible.
Ministry of the
afuera.
Environment and Sustainable Development, out. Ministry of
Diversidad,
Women, Genders and
afuera.
Diversity, out.
Ministerio de Obras Públicas.
My favorite one's coming up.
Aunque te resistas.
Even if you resist.
Ministerio de Ciencia y Tecnología y Innovación. Afuera. Ministerio de Trabajo y Seguridad Social.
It's culture, I think.
Ministerio de Educación. Adoctrinamiento. Afuera.
That's my favorite one. He says, Ministry of Education, Indoctrination, afuera. Ministry of Transport.
Ministerio de Transporte. Afuera.
Afuera.
Ministerio de Salud. Afuera.
Ministry of Health. Afuera.
Ministerio de Desarrollo Social. Afuera.
Ministry of Social Development. Listen.
Se acabó el curro de la política. ¡Viva la libertad, carajo!
The politics of thievery are over. Long live what does he say? Long live the freedom revolution. Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I mean, there's a picture of him sort of wielding a chainsaw as well, slightly manically. Again,
I love that.
I mean, to be fair, I mean, these ministries, they're just filled. I mean, they are with here as well. It's just government department after department. And I mean, when you remember that back in like the late 19th century, when like 300 people ran the whole world.
Yeah.
Out of Whitehall, like we don't, you know,
like
the idea
25 people running the entirety of the British Empire was something ridiculous.
I mean, by sort of divulging authority downwards, by actually, you know, promoting competent people, etc., etc. The idea that we need like a ministry for equality it's just all they do is they make work for themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They just produce reams of red tape that then make work, sort of reinforce the need, because then you need some sort of quango to make sure that all the red tape is followed, and then they just keep justifying themselves by making more and more pointless legislation. I'm not a libertarian. I think libertarianism is a hollow. I used to be a libertarian. It must be said when I was a child. Well, I guess
when I was 5.
When I was 5, I was a libertarian. I read Ayn Rand. I quoted Ayn Rand and everyone.
you were like the baby in Family Guy.
Yeah, less evil. No, when I was sort of 17, 18, 19, I thought I was quite captivated by the idea of libertarianism. But it's a hollow sort of thing because it fails to acknowledge that we've spoken about this many times, but our true freedom is not in the capacity to self-actualize, which is effectively what libertarianism is saying. You know, the more free we are, the more happy we'll be. But true freedom is in following God.
Well, it depends on how you describe libertarianism. If you're an anarchist, I think that goes too far, because and you could see it like a Christian way, because you could say, well, it's about being critical. It's about being suspicious of human beings, because we know that human beings are sinful and we don't want to give them power over us. You know, so it's better just not to have a government. But I think that
that's not a biblical way of looking at it.
Well, I was going to say a more Christian kind of way, I think, would be to look at it more like limited government, because, you know, clearly the Bible tells us that God gives us authorities in order to wield the sword and keep order and so on and so forth. And so it should be limited. There should be a government, but it should be limited, which is probably what he thinks. I mean, he does describe himself as an anarcho-capitalist, but
yeah, but he's probably just doing that to troll people. I mean, he sounds like the sort of person I quite like. It's a bit like Trump, isn't it? Who says a lot of things just to irritate the sort of people who he wants to irritate.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't know enough about him, and I don't want to pretend that I'm an authority on Argentinian politics. One thing I think, you know, is that has happened with, you know, tedious regularity is when these people, like in Argentina or in Italy or in Germany, do well, the BBC and others in our country describe them as far right. which is, or hard right, which in this case is even more ridiculous because he's an anarchist, or at least a kind of extreme libertarian, which is pretty much the opposite of being far right. Because if you're far right, that means you're a fascist, and if you're a fascist, it means you believe that literally all of society should be held within the confines of the state. You know, the Mussolini phrase, isn't it? Like everything within the state, nothing outside of the state. Everything for the state. It's completely opposite of being extreme right wing.
Well, it's lazy, isn't it? It's lazy thinking, and I always remember when my father said to me that you know, the politics is more like a circle than a horseshoe.
Yeah,
you know, because the hard right and the hard left are basically both according to the same solution, which is the state controls absolutely everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're pretty much the same thing. I mean, with communism, you have the kind of sort of Marxist class warfare, class economic warfare ideology, which goes with it. But basically, it ends up with the same thing, doesn't it? A massive totalitarian state controlling everyone's lives, which is ironically what the BBC actually want, and it's exactly the opposite of what Javier Milei wants. So there we are. But I thought that was fun, Tom. I thought it was fun. I liked.
It does look fun. I'd like to see what happens.